Nigerian telecom providers have attributed the recent network outages to cable cuts by hoodlums during the protests. This follows allegations from various organizations, including a cybersecurity watchdog, NetBlocks, claiming that companies like MTN Group Limited intentionally disrupted services to limit protest coverage. But the executive secretary of the Association of Licensed Telecommunications Operators of Nigeria says demonstrators damaged internet cables, hence the technical glitch. Let's bring in Adebayo, who is the chairman of the Association of Licensed Telecom Operators in Nigeria. Benga, good to see you and thanks for your time. A lot of people were confused. Call it some kind of coincidence, but it did happen. What can you tell us about this?
Thank you for having me. I must say very clearly that there was no attempt to disrupt telecommunication services over the last days. The incidents of congestion that was experienced on some part of the network are isolated, and these are cases of heavy traffic in some areas due to high concentration of people, particularly in residential neighborhoods. The Honorable Minister has stated very clearly that there is no instructions to mobile operators to reduce the bandwidth of connection to subscribers. And therefore, we oppose that statement. I don't have any information where I sit as the chairman of the association that any operator is asked to limit capacity to subscribers. So, Minister has said it, and we need to stay with what he has said. We continue to provide services for everyone, irrespective of their political or otherwise affiliation. We do not represent any interest whatsoever. So, our desire and our obligation to the public is to continue to provide services uninterrupted to everyone, irrespective of their affiliations.
Yeah, but okay, on the issue of hoodlums, I mean, you're attributing this to hoodlums' activities during the protests. To what extent, really, could hoodlums have tampered with, the networks that you'd have this kind of situation?
Well, we do have pockets of willful damage to infrastructure from time to time. What may have been reported over the weekend could be traced to some form of coincidence that happened in certain areas, but it's not to say that that has had a major impact on network availability. I recall that prior to the declaration of protest by the interest group, we had said that movement may be impaired, and I'm aware that a number of our members are provided for contingency in the event that there is any form of impact whatsoever on the national network. But thankfully, as we speak today, there's normalcy. We don't have any case of outage that is so severe to affect national network. And as I said earlier, we continue to do our best in early endeavor to make services available to everyone.
Come in here and bring you back. We're talking about, because I asked if it's just sheer coincidence, because on D-Day, an average Nigerian has more than one or two of the networks just in case. And isn't it amazing or disheartening that all networks of every individual on that day didn't work properly? If you had one or two disruptions, it shouldn't affect every network. But on that day, every network owned by Nigerians were almost down.
Well, I don't know if what you are talking about is general. We know that there are isolated cases of congestion reported in some part of the country. We also saw traffic report. It's not common to all places at all time. We have some movement in certain regard that may have affected network availability, but certainly there is no deliberate attempt by anyone to limit service availability to anyone, and I think that is the most important. So as an industry, we continue to provide services irrespective of what anyone is doing. Our obligation is to be available at all times to all people. And that's what we did throughout the period and up until now.
Right, Mr. Adebayo, how come you did not issue a statement, or at least let or alert Nigerians that there was such vandalization going on that may affect the networks in the course of the weekend and even till now?
Well, as I said, I mean, the isolated cases is not as severe to disrupt the national network. That's what I'm trying to say. And if these isolated cases, we wouldn't have gone to issue a statement because it's not across the entire national network. But what I must say is that if you do experience congestion on one network in a particular area, it is most likely that other networks in the same area will have congestion because of the principles of all networks in one network. And as you know, that infrastructure is being shared by a number of providers. So I wouldn't say that it's something that was significant enough from the report that we have seen to warrant us issuing a national statement. But over the weekend, you know that our minister granted interviews, and at those interviews, he did affirm that the government didn't ask anyone to limit service availability.
Well, I think it looks like the government versus the people, because it was until the people cried out, that's when the minister spoke. Because what a lot of people still do not understand is that how possible it is for almost every provider to be down. The only people who were able to have a seamless connection were those who were plugged on to some international satellite internet connection. You know what I'm talking about. So it comes back to the issue of protecting the people. How well can we truly explain this to the people? What more can you have to show the people that truly this is some form of coincidence?
I can't say better than the Honorable Minister has said it. And it's not in my place because the minister has more information than I do. And as representative of government, I think he said it in the way that the government has seen it. And in my role, I need to stand by what the minister has said. But again, if we have isolated cases like we did have in some of those instances, it didn't happen at all places at all times. And we are not going to be able, on account of some isolated incident in some places, say this is same across all networks. So where I would like to leave it is that we should abide by what the Honorable Minister has said, and that's that there is no attempt by anyone to stifle services or to minimize access for anybody. And that's just the way it is. We continue as an industry to support everyone, irrespective of their political views or their political belief. As we subscribe to principles of equality at all times and in all places. And I would like to keep it at that, and that's to assure the public that we do not have any affiliation or any inclination in this regard. Ours is non-discriminatory, and that's what we will continue to do.
Okay, earlier you said your reports indicate that this situation was just in some isolated places. Are you able to tell us exactly where, in specific terms, where these disruptions took place? And secondly, I'd also like to know whether you'll be compensating Nigerians for the serious inconvenience to them.
Well, we need to look at the details of those incidents. Again, if there are situations of impact beyond the control of the operators, there's not much that we can do. If they are force majeure, for example, there is not much we can do other than to apologize to those that have been affected. But as far as we are concerned, we are obliged to provide services. We've done the best endeavor to make services available. We have isolated occurrence in some parts of the country at some times in some places. It didn't happen at all times across all networks. And so for us to look at issue of convention or otherwise, for now, what I would like to say is to offer apologies for those who are affected and to confirm that we didn't have to do it because anyone is being asked to minimize availability of service to the public. And I think that is the most important, because what I seem to get from the public and from what you're asking is if there has been a deliberate attempt to make service available to the public. And Honorable Minister has said it rightly, so that there is no such attempt. And as an industry, I can also cover, I don't have any report to the effect that there has been attempts to prevent access or minimize access to people over the weekend.
So what else can you show the people? Because I go back to your earlier statement about the minister. Keep in mind the protest is about the government and the minister is an appointee of the government. So it's clearly on the side of the minister to say what he has to say to the people. Do you have any other evidence to show that this is not about the government, since this has to do with technical glitch? For every technical glitch, there is something that you can show the people. I'm talking about being much more empirical in this.
Well, there are network reports, and over the period, we also have performance reports across various networks. I'm sure that our regulators, in an attempt to understand this better, our regulators, as they usually do, will ask for network performance report over the period, and this will be submitted. And if they do find any information, anything to the contrary, I'm sure that the NCC will make that known to the public. But as operators, we have done the best endeavor to make services available. So performance report will be submitted. If they do find anything to the contrary, I'm sure that appropriately through the usual channel, they will let the public know.
Right. How soon will things improve? Very quickly, in 30 seconds.
Well, I think normalcy is back. Today we don't have members of the public complaining. Again, the day is just ending. By tomorrow we'll see where we are. But generally, we think that there's better accessibility today than it was over the days that people experienced those glitches. Again, to apologize to the public for whatever experience they may have had. It is not deliberate. It is not due to willful attempt. But it's part of what we go through in the course of making services available to people.
All right. Benga Adebayo is Chairman, Association of Licensed Telecom Operators of Nigeria. Thank you for joining us on News 9.